every time I record anything now, I always think to myself to say, hey team, and it's because of Empower You. Every time I see them, because they are my actual team, I'm always like, what's up team? So what's up team? Today I want to talk to you about toning and all these misconceptions about toning, because it kills my life when people come to me and they're like, I want to tone. And I'm like, okay, but what do you want to do? Do you want to lose fat or burn muscle? Lose fat or gain muscle? Because toning, it's just a buzzword, right? It doesn't really mean anything. So when you want to tone, you either want to burn fat or gain muscle. However, you can also just burn fat because you'll see more of your muscle. And so that's for some people, that's toning as well, but it just depends on the amount of muscle mass that you have. So how to tone? The best way to tone is to start with fat loss. And I'll tell you why. Most of us are inflammatory, right? Our lives are inflammatory because we're stressed all the time. Stress basically equals inflammation. And so if we're usually stressed, and most of us are usually doing weights, and we sort of tend to have higher blood pressure than anything, more nutrient deficiencies, gastrointestinal issues, hormonal imbalances, whatever it might be, just because we live stressful lives, we are more likely to be inflamed. So majority on a whole, we're all inflamed, right? Of course, there is the odd person who's not, and for them, this is a different story. But for the average person in general, and I would say 90% of the population in the world, we are inflamed. And so because we're inflamed, to reverse that is going to give us different results. So, they always say that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Well, that's kind of what's happening if you're struggling to tone, struggling to burn fat, struggling to even gain muscle or look more shredded. Then what really you're missing is you're missing the opportunity to crank down your inflammation, because the side effect of a healthy body is to lose fat. Excess fat, right? So if you're a healthy weight, your body's not really going to lose a lot of fat unless you go to extremes. If you're an unhealthy weight right now, then by becoming more healthy, filling those nutrient gaps, making sure you're moving your body, making sure that you're drinking lots of water, making sure you're getting enough sleep and addressing stress in your life, all those kinds of things, and focusing on your mindset and perception and emotional resilience, then your body will start to, once you actually get to a point where you're healthy, your body will start to just kind of just melt the fat off, because your body is healthy, but you have to be healthy first, right? So the easiest way to do it, in which order, right? Because your body is really good at doing one thing. It's either good at burning fat or gaining muscle. It's not really fantastic at doing both, although it can do both when you just rather, just put all of your resources into getting one goal achieved faster. To me, that's exactly the way that I do everything. I put things into phases. I'm like, okay, your body could do two things at once. You could multitask, but why don't you just smash out one task, get that done, tick that off, put all of your resources to getting that one task done. If you put every single resource that you have towards one thing, you'll get there a lot faster. Even if it took you 3 months to burn fat and then 3 months to build muscle, by the time you get to 6 months, you are going to be so mentally exhausted, because you're like, ugh, 6 months is so far away. But if you get to one goal at 3 months and then your second goal at 6 months, well, it just feels like you're going to have a lot more motivation and a stronger will to continue and be consistent. So do one thing at a time. So burn fat first. It's really anti-inflammatory to burn fat. You have to be anti-inflammatory to burn fat, but let me tell you how to do that. If we're talking exercise, doing cardio is going to be really good for you. And I'm not talking about HIIT, because HIIT is intense. Anything that's intense or extreme is not good for the body that is already inflamed, right? Or I should say, is not good for a body that is already inflamed, because that's most of us generally. HIIT's not the best thing for you when you're inflamed. When you're not inflamed, great, go for it. It's a minimum effective dose, short amount of time, lots of calories burnt, and that's great. But until you are there, until you earn that right by putting in the foundational work with good cardio, and I'm talking moderate sort of steady state stuff, which you'll see in all my stories, which is what I'm doing at the moment, making sure my heart rate doesn't get too high, like I mentioned today, in a fat burning zone. I don't want to miss that zone, right? So anything that's intense is a no. In terms of food, how to be anti-inflammatory, choose an anti-inflammatory diet. The Mediterranean diet is a great example of that. But also for you, filling your nutritional gaps is going to be really beneficial as well. So whatever your nutritional gaps are for you, and you might identify those in a blood test,